Diddy is absolutely cooked, and this indictment is worse than I thought. Keep watching to find out why. Now, I reported last night that Diddy was arrested. However, the indictment was sealed, right? Nobody could access it last night, so we didn't know exactly what Diddy was being charged with or what he did, because he was accused of doing a slew of things in multiple lawsuits, so it was unclear what's true and what wasn't. However, we finally got to hear from the prosecutors as to exactly what they're charging Diddy with. And this is some nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. All right, so we're going to get into this as well as address the bond hearing, as well as address a couple of other links to Cassie's lawsuit, and, just pretty much address the overall and then give my opinion on exactly how much time I think Diddy is going to do.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
This also plays into the sick nature of these charges, because when you think interstate solicitation and trafficking, you automatically think women. But a lot of these charges stem from Diddy flying in male gigolos, right, to participate in activities with women for him to watch and self-gratify. That right there to me is even sicker, bro. Like, you're about to do 100 years in prison to watch another man get off?
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery.
This just makes the Diddy settlement with Cassie looks even that much dumber, because you could tell by how they're setting up these charges that this is literally just an outline of the Cassie lawsuit. So Diddy essentially paid $30 million for nothing, because that lawsuit is still going to get him behind bars for a very long time. Now they're setting this up like they set up the R. Kelly indictment. It's a RICO, which means that his employees are going to get theirs as well. Diddy's not the last one that's going to get indicted. There's going to be more people that's going to be forced to turn on Diddy or come forward and get arrested too.
And the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines.
The freak off started off as something humorous, like the name Diddy being a cuck, et cetera, et cetera. But, as the more we learn about it, bro, it stopped being funny. And a lot of people are now questioning the legalities of a freak off, because they don't understand, why is Diddy going to jail for a freak off? Now, the freak offs, as we know it, according to Cassie, started off as, her just granting Diddy a fantasy. Diddy said he wanted to see her with another penis. She granted that fantasy. And eventually she started picking the men out, for Diddy and her to engage in these freak offs. And then it got criminal. Soliciting mill workers to travel across state line to come and engage in sexual activities with your woman is still criminal and it's still trafficking. However, it takes its severity when Cassie starts to say, that at some points I didn't want to do it, and he would still force me, like this incident at her birthday. Now, before the birthday incident, Cassie would explain the free calls were intended to be a one-time thing, but then it began to get out of hand, and she began to resent them, even having extreme anxiety before each free call. But Diddy would give her, ultimatums. Diddy would coerce her and force her into doing these things. And one time, particularly on her birthday, she was partying with her friends, and Diddy came to the party, grabbed her out the party, and forced her to go to the hotel and engage in the freak off. So to clear up everyone's confusion regarding the legalities, when Cassie consented, yes, it's somewhat legal and not as bad as still trafficking, because the male escorts were imported in across state lines. However, once Cassie stopped consenting and you force her through ultimatums and abuse, well, it's not legal no more.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee.
He's speaking about the incident that took place at the hotel with Cassie and Diddy. Now, what's even dumber, and I thought Diddy was a smart man, an evil genius, if you may, but at this time, Diddy knew full well he was being investigated, or at least under investigation, and charges were coming, and Diddy still came on camera and apologized for his actions in that video. Straight up apologized and took accountability, which is okay in the grand scheme of things, but you don't want to do it if pending litigation is still ongoing. His lawyers have since tried to clean it up, which we will address later on in this video.
As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims.
I mean, people, I don't want to be the one to say it, man, but the similarities, man, is uncanny. The similarities here is damning, bro. He reminds me of somebody, man. I can't put my finger on it, man. Who do Diddy remind me of? Oh. Now, Diddy has been accused in the past, man, of being able to yield a lot of power because he was able to get these music executives, these politicians at his home and have them engage in these, solicited activities on camera and have it recorded. So Diddy had a blackmail ring as well. And what's also interesting, man, the person that he reminds me of, man, was also indicted by this exact same jurisdiction. Oh my God, who am I talking about? Who was this?
The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses.
One thing that's interesting as well, because they just mentioned that Diddy used firearms to intimidate people. Well, the police located a lot of firearms at Diddy's crib. They even located a couple of ghost guns where the serial numbers were like cut off or ripped off or scratched off. Well, that's illegal. But Diddy don't have any firearm charges. And when they were asked about it, they said, they didn't have any plans on bringing firearm charges at this particular moment. However, they do have use for all the weapons they found at Diddy's crib. So I wonder, what angle they're about to take regarding the firearms and how they're going to incorporate into the charges.
Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Kalina Harper, one of Diddy's special assistants, quote unquote. Now she came out, and offered up her support for Diddy, right? But she needs to probably retract that immediately because they're talking about, this was a RICO. And for a RICO to happen, it has to be more than one person, right? So she's probably going to get indicted as well, or she's going to be brought in, which she probably already was because during this press conference, they mentioned that Diddy contacted one of his assistants over 54 times in one day. That assistant was her. Right? For why he contacted her, we don't know yet. She probably told the feds, but we don't know yet.
The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs's crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent.
This is Diana Copeland. She was R. Kelly's assistant. The feds made her take the stand and testify against R. Kelly, right? In exchange to prove that she didn't help him recruit any women. So I don't know who's going to turn on Diddy. I don't know who the feds are after. I don't know who they're going to go after and say, yo, this person here is a part of the RICO. But we're going to see a lot of close associates of Diddy take that stand and testify against him. And Diddy is probably going to go down because of this. That right there pretty much covers the entire indictment. Not much was left off, but I do want to cover a couple of things that I didn't hear get mentioned. Foremost, the organization, because it is a racketeering case. And for racketeering, you are a criminal organization. Now, the name of Diddy's criminal organization is Combs Enterprises, and then the Power Organization, which essentially is one of Diddy's like corporations that's been registered. So those are the two companies that, the prosecutors are saying that Diddy used to extort, traffic, bribe, commit arson, bribery, and a slew of other crimes. Now, the arson they're specifically referring to is the arson that took place with Kid Cudi. Now, in Cassie's original lawsuit, she stated that her and Kid Cudi began a relationship when, she pretty much cut things off with Diddy, and Diddy, being this obsessed, jealous ex, couldn't have enough, right? He couldn't, have all his side chicks and not have Cassie. He wanted everything. He wanted it all. So because Cassie moved on and Diddy still had other women, he decided he was going to scare Kid Cudi away from Cassie. So he paid somebody, or using the Combs organization or the Power Corporation, he paid people to go to Kid Cudi's house and blow up his cars. And eventually that scared Cassie enough to where Cassie went back to Diddy, and Kid Cudi left her alone because he didn't want any smoke while living in LA.
Including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee.
And that right there has came back to bite Diddy. Now, multiple victims are stating that when they tried to leave Diddy, that when they had enough and wanted to speak up, well, Diddy would use coercion, Diddy would use force, Diddy would use intimidation, Diddy would use everything in his toolage to make sure they didn't speak up for themselves or come forward to authorities. Now, the reason why that right there would come back to bite Diddy is because, well, when you are arrested, the first thing you do is you try to seek bond, right? You want to get out and fight your case as a free man, because these trials be taking like 3-4 years. But bond is probably not going to happen if witness intimidation is on your rap sheet. And Diddy and his set of attorneys, they knew this. So they took some precautions to try to manipulate the justice system even before he was arrested or officially charged. Diddy and his set of attorneys began to do a couple of things to give off the impression they were being cooperative with officials. They told officials, listen, he hasn't been officially charged yet, but we want you guys to know where he is at all times. So they began to report where Diddy was, his particular location, to the proper officials. Diddy sold his planes so there wouldn't be any risk of him fleeing. Diddy turned in all his passports. Now, mind you, they were doing this before he was even charged, which means that they knew he was going to be charged, and they were doing all of this because they know that a really powerful guy with a lot of money with a history of witness intimidation probably is not going to get bond. So they was trying to get ahead of this to hopefully get bond once Diddy is officially charged. The $1 million question here is, well, did the strategy work? Did it work? Well, let's go to the transcripts to find out, did the strategy work? After the judge walks in, sits down, Diddy pleads not guilty. It's time for the prosecutors to present their case as to why they believe Diddy shouldn't get any bond or bail. Now, as the prosecutors is speaking after Diddy pleads not guilty, you can tell he's sending a message to Diddy. He starts speaking, man, and then one of the first things out of his mouth was, yo, these crimes, the maximum punishment for these crimes, man, is life in prison or death. The death penalty? Now, Diddy is bad, bro, but I ain't know he was this bad, homie, that, he could get the death penalty? So he starts speaking, right? So the judge is like, is this man a threat to the community? And the prosecutor is like, Judge, like, what type of dumb question is that? This man has been violating and abusing victims for a decade, bro, and he has access to $1 billion company, and he has used that $1 billion company to abuse these victims. What do you mean? Is he a dangerous? Of course he is, right? Of course he is. So then, the prosecutor said, yes, we believe that he should be detained, et cetera, et cetera. He's facing significant charges. Your Honor, he should be detained. Now, they start going through it. He says, listen, man, he set up freak offs. He forced people to have sex, masturbate during it, et cetera, et cetera. All right, defendant committed other physical assaults. He surrounded himself and used firearms. He's a danger to society, Your Honor. All right, he's been indicted on robbery and other obstruction charges, bruh. Listen, we can't be so sure that if we give him bond, he won't go back to doing things that he has a habit of for over a decade plus, right? Especially his history of bribery and obstruction of justice, Your Honor. Do we forget his first criminal case, right, when he was facing, a couple decades in jail for shooting that woman in the club, bruh? Come on, all right? So then they pretty much go through the entire thing. They also bring up, Your Honor, do we forget that when he whooped on Cassie, that when he whooped Cassie's ass in like the middle of the hallway, he somehow made that video disappear through bribery? Your Honor, if we let this man out of jail, bro, he's gonna do the same thing. We can't risk it. We cannot risk it. So eventually, right, after they go through all of this, they also provided statements that says that before September 14th statement by Ms. Harper, because Ms. Harper is somebody who stated, that she's still supporting Diddy. Diddy is a good man. People are lying on Diddy. They revealed that before she made that statement, Diddy called her 54 times in one day. 54 times in one day. And they believe in that phone call, Diddy coerced her to make a statement, in support of him. So, they continue, and they also brought up the fact that R. Kelly was detained, Jeffrey Epstein was detained, and their crimes dated further back than Diddy crimes because, they're trying to hedge their bet on what Diddy's lawyers was going to say. They're probably thinking Diddy's lawyer is about to get up there and say, Your Honor, bro, these charges are for a decade plus, right? My client has changed. He has rebranded himself to Brother Love. He's not the same person. And, the prosecutor was like, Your Honor, cool and all. Like, the whole change thing is cool and all, bro. But, like, do we forget, that we already set a precedent in his courtroom. Epstein and R. Kelly were both in his courtroom, and we both said, listen, man, they have to be detained until trial. And their crimes, right, were, not as bad because they're claiming that the physical violence was done by other people on their behalf, but Diddy committed the physical violence himself, and their crimes dated further back than Diddy crimes. So they continued, he's wealthy, et cetera, right? Now, also, too, though, apparently, Diddy is just an unhinged menace. Because apparently, bro, like, while he's being investigated by the feds, he's still in hotel rooms doing narcotics, right? Because when they arrested Diddy in his hotel, they found apparently like a pink powder, right, in his hotel. They continue, they say, they spoke to over 50 witnesses. Diddy, you is out. Chalked. You out of here, bro. 50? 50? Oh, no. Listen, man. And imagine, right? Because majority of the 50 witnesses were people who had very close relations to Diddy. So, like, imagine convincing a jury of your peers, right? Imagine going to court being, accused of something, and a jury of your peers is hearing 50 witnesses from your friends, your family members, your employees, and 50 of your friends, family members, and employees is coming to court and telling that jury of your peers how horrible of a human being you are. Good luck convincing that jury you're not a horrible human being, right? So then it continues, man. So Diddy lawyer is finally speaking, and he says, Your Honor, we could tell an indictment was coming in the fall because according to the prosecutor, yo, Diddy's actions of what he did before he was indicted should have no factor in terms of like him taking precautions to alert and be cooperative. They're saying, yo, him being cooperative before the official charges came should serve nothing in his bail hearing. You know why? Because once you're officially charged and once you know you're facing life and death in prison, well, the incentive for you to flee is much greater now. So then, Diddy's attorney says, Your Honor, we could tell an indictment was coming in the fall from our meeting with the prosecutor's chiefs. My client flew to New York. I told the prosecutors I'd like him to have the opportunity to turn himself in. Now, apparently, they got involved in March. They've been doing their own investigation. Now, they're saying that after the raids, right, that Diddy was checking in on a daily. Whenever he was traveling or he moved, he checked in, as we already discussed earlier in this video, right? They're just running through all the precautions they took to make sure they were cooperating, so his plane, et cetera, et cetera. The back and forth between the prosecutors and Diddy attorney included, Diddy attorney confirming and urging the judge that they will keep an eye on him. They have a $50 million bail package they want to propose. They got the kids' passport taken away, so Diddy would not flee without his kids. Of course, stop it, bro. I'm not saying Diddy don't love his children, but if Diddy had to choose between life in prison, the death penalty, and to escape that, he had to flee to, let's say, Russia or Bali, and in exchange, his kids live in America, and he would speak to them through phones. Man, come on, y'all. Diddy is dipping. Like, Diddy is leaving, homie. Like, he's not staying. Now, ultimately, man, Diddy's defense attorney didn't do a good enough job to convince the judge, because the judge says he can't let Diddy out, and he denied the bond. Now, maybe another bill package will be presented at a later date, but for now, Diddy bond was denied. Now, Diddy lawyer did a press conference after the court hearing, and here's what he had to say.
All right. So this was the first step. We have a bail appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think it came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid.
It's as if he didn't hear Diddy apologize to Cassie in that weak apology and take accountability for the crimes he committed that we watched on camera. Now, during the bond hearing, he presented it as Cassie and Diddy was dating for 10 years. They were in a relationship, and all of this was mutual. Cassie hit Diddy too. Yo, go ask O.J. Simpson, all right, what mutual gets you. OJ stuff got stolen from him. He stole it back, and he went to jail for 19 years, all right? Mutual don't mean a thing.
He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name.
Oh, of course. All right. Looking forward to the day I get charged and potentially could go to jail for life. Now, it sounds like cap talk, but here's why I won't completely dismiss it. Maybe it's one of those things where, when you are anticipating something horrible to happen, sometimes you just want to get it over with, right? You just want to face it, right? With that big bad kid that's been threatened to bully you and beat you up all school year, you just want to fight the kid to get it over with. Maybe it's one of those situations, but he just wanted to get things over with.
And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case.
You see, this is why I advise settling lawsuits completely, because Diddy should be presumed innocent. He hasn't been found guilty yet, but because he settled with Cassie for $30 million and paid her $30 million to shut up, it's hard for us to listen to a lawyer say he did nothing wrong. Because if you did nothing wrong, why would you pay her $30 million not to come forward?
And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again. And we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Why did the arrest happen last night instead of today as planned?
I don't know. The question is, why did it happen last night instead of today? I don't know the answer to that question.
Are you going to be
I just want to make one point very clear. We have no power. All we can do is show good faith. He got on a plane and he came here. And if he stayed here for 1 day before the case started, or for 1 year before the case started, he was going to stay as long as he needed to stay. It ends up being only 12 days. That's fine. That's what the government wanted to do. The government didn't want him to turn himself in. He came here to turn himself in. Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in.
It sounds like the prosecutors and the defense were both just playing chess. The prosecutors understood what Diddy and his team was doing, right? They were going out of their way to come across as super cooperative so they can get bond and not be detained. So the attorney said, listen, man, all right, let's expedite this for at least like 30 days, right? Let's push it up 30 days so he don't get to spend 30 days in New York and claim that he was being cooperative and he would have turned himself in. Now, they did ask to turn themselves in, right? Diddy's lawyer did ask for the right to turn himself in, but the prosecutors went ahead and arrested him anyway. It's all a game of chess, and they arrested him opposed to alerting him that, there's a warrant out for his arrest and he should turn himself in. They arrested him because they wanted the optics not to look like he turned himself in, he's cooperative, he's not going nowhere, his passport got turned in, he sold his planes. They wanted the judge to deny this bond and to detain it. Now, there is an appeal for bond tomorrow at about, 3 they said? So, no, 10 a.m., right? They said 10 a.m. So hopefully we will see where things are tomorrow, but Diddy did present a $50 million bond. How I think it's going to play out, bro, quite frankly, I think Diddy is cooked. I think Diddy is going to get found guilty. I think Diddy is probably going to do, at minimum, 2 decades plus in jail. The Harvey Weinstein treatment, the R. Kelly treatment, the would-be Jeffrey Epstein treatment. Diddy is going to do a couple decades in jail if he survives, all right? But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this? Is he innocent? Is he guilty? What do you guys think would be the appropriate punishment for Diddy? Let me know, all right? And if you're still watching, click on this video here somewhere on my screen, somewhere here, or here, to find out my take after I first discovered that Diddy was being arrested. Click on this video right here to see the first video I made discussing Diddy being arrested. I'm going to see you guys in this video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.